What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. If this is if you're a returning listener, thank you guys so much. If you're new, welcome to the Real Estate Virgins podcast. We are here to help elevate your business in 2023 and beyond. We, as John likes to say, we are boots on the ground. We're putting the work in, and we're here to share what works, what doesn't, things to try, stories of success and failure. You get it all here, baby. And I'm your host, Jordan Brown. And John, welcome, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. Just feeling good. It's we got to enjoy the first non-100 degree day a couple days ago. It was very nice.
You're right.
Nice change of pace.
Yes, we've got a big hitter.
We do.
Heavy hitter today.
Hey, we always try to tell you guys when there's a podcast that you want to bookmark, and it's going to be this one. Mm-hmm. John and I have talked about relational business growing, and we've always talked about, like, there's certain things that we don't do a lot of, and we're so happy to have the prospect king himself.
The prospect king. That is like the perfect definition of him.
Pauly,
Cold call king.
Cold call king, baby.
Cold call
If
king.
you are looking to get into farming and getting an immediate impact, and like if you have not a lot going on in your business, what better way than to listen to this guy who has perfected it, who thrives in this environment? We're so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. Pauly Campanaro, welcome, buddy.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, welcome to the podcast. The whole premise is we like to share stories of success for newer agents who are tuning in. Some people are just worried, where is that first deal going to come from?
Yeah.
And what we love is that all the guests that we have on bring something of value, something that's different. And you're a niche that we haven't tapped into yet.
Okay.
Which is cold calling.
So I'm a virgin in the...
Yes, sir.
I'm a virgin guest.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So,
right.
And you always remember your first, everyone.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, good.
So
I'll make sure to leave an impact. Okay, good.
Love it. So tell us.
Actually, before we start, I wanted to say, so Paul Campanaro was one of my first teachers in real estate.
Yeah.
So this was 6-7 years ago.
It's when you were a real estate virgin back in the day.
Literally.
I know. You were fresh off the lot when I brought you in.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I was so nervous. Like, I didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't have any confidence. I was like, literally.
You're a mess. No, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, you were terrible.
No, I was.
we all are when we first start.
Right.
I mean, really.
Oh man, and I had so much anxiety when we used to role play. Like, you used to like throw me a ball or something, and I'd have to catch it and talk to you or something like that. And I was like, I would just I don't know, tense up. But
I forgot the ball. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That was good.
How great was it, though, to do something that made you uncomfortable and kind of forced you to participate in something that you didn't think you could be good at?
For sure.
You know what's funny, though, is that it's interesting to hear you say that, because I remember when you came, and you would come regularly in the morning, and I knew that everyone, when they first start in the business, has insecurities and doubts and fears, and that's part of the training that I did, is that, look, we're in real estate. Real estate's about relationships, and the conversation is the relationship. And so I have to be good at talking to people, right? One of the agents at the company we used to be at used to say, I get paid to socialize, right? And yet we're all kind of awkward in that, like, how do I start a conversation? And I didn't detect a lot of that from you. So for you to say, man, I was really uncomfortable with it, but yet you kept coming back and really tried to focus on, like, all right, how do I better engage people, was a testament to, you really launching and transcending your business. And that was one of the first hurdle, really.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is we say this a lot to our listeners, is that conversations and the quality of your questions really equals your results. And that's directly from Pauly C. That's straight from him.
Yeah. And cool, man. Thank you.
And we always tell people that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's get into it.
Yeah, I'd love to know, like, listeners like to know a little bit about your background.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, like, who was Pauly before real estate? What was the path getting into it? What did that journey look like for you?
Yeah. So originally I'm from Rochester, New York, which is the Buffalo, Niagara Falls region. Because as soon as you say New York, people just, they think New York City, which I did live in New York City, and I went to Albany State, and I lived in New York City. But Rochester is like a Cleveland, Pittsburgh kind of city, like blue collar, salt of the earth people. And I grew up there, went to Albany State, and then transferred to University of Nevada, Las Vegas. So I ended up in Las Vegas going to school. And
that's quite a change.
Yeah, big change. humongous change. East Coast to West Coast, humongous change. Vegas is its own universe. So having to deal with that whole West Coast vibe coming from I grew up stereotypical Italian kid from New York, right? So it was a huge social and cultural shift in understanding how people interacted with each other, right? Because people just interacted very, very differently. So that was a shock. And then I got involved with real estate when I was waiting tables on the Strip. I worked in fine dining gourmet restaurants, so super high-end restaurants. The average check was like $110 or $120 a person. And so famous celebrities, ultra rich. One time we had a table of Bill Gates and Warren Buffett at the same table together.
Whoa.
Just them two having dinner. And in Vegas, people are running around and guys are like all these beautiful people, right? But there wasn't more googly eyes than that table. People going, oh my gosh, these two guys. You know how much that table's worth?
I know.
So
even just the influence of that table is like on like everything, the economy on like that's a powerful table.
Wow. Powerful table, right? And so that's what Vegas gave me. It gave me a fire hose to the face on just how big the world is and how much money is out there and how differently people are interacting with each other in different ways. And so that opened me up and possibility and opportunity. And Vegas back in the early 2000s was going through its third boom. Bellagio and Paris and Mandalay Bay were all just opening up. So Vegas was going through this huge boom. And so coming from the East Coast where everything's old, and there's not cranes running, everywhere on the skyline, it was eye-opening to see the opportunity. And so that's what attracted me to real estate is going, wow, this is something special, even though it was special that I was working in gourmet restaurants making $100,000 a year. That was really kind of stupid, right? I mean, you're waiting tables making that kind of money. It was really ridiculous.
Both Jordan and I waited tables, and we definitely didn't make $100,000 a year.
Yeah. And
I felt good when I made like $700 a week. I was like, dang, this is sick.
Yeah. We were making $300-400 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, and waiting on famous people and the uber rich. It was pretty cool. It was a very cool experience. But ultimately, you get to a point in your life where you need to grow, and I knew that I needed to grow. And so I got involved with real estate and started doing real estate. And
was there someone that was like, "Hey, you should try real estate," or what?
No. It was like I need a way out because I saw waiters in their 40s and 50s, and now I'm 48 now, right? And I'm like, no way.
Can't even imagine.
I'm not
being
doing
there.
that. Not going to be a 50 or 60-year-old waiter. Which in all respectability, though, you can do that in Las Vegas and have be in the union, culinary union, and have an amazing life. Make $75,000 or $100,000 a year. The insurance is amazing, fantastic insurance. You got some sort of retirement plan, like. Could be a
there's
pretty
worse
good
setups.
life.
There are worse
way
setups.
worse setups.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of people coming to the United States and taking advantage of that scenario and living the American dream. So there's no knock on it. It's just I wanted more.
Yeah.
And so, not having graduated college, there were limited options in regards to what I could go for, and you could see right in front of you. There were people in the early 2000s who were waiting tables and bartending, making $100,000 a year, and then making $100,000 on the side just because things were moving so fast and so aggressively. A lot like what we saw here, but a little bit different in regards to the number of new homes being built, like just ridiculously fast.
So there was more new builds over there?
More new builds. It was
Really?
way more.
Okay.
I mean, you saw communities being popped up right in front of you. Like you see some of that here, but imagine that 10x. Like everywhere you see new neighborhoods just popping up everywhere. And so
they probably knew it was going to be something huge, like this big influx of the buildings and all these new attractions. Like people are going to want to be here.
Yeah.
So there's an agent that actually was a guest on our podcast. He sold 114 homes his second year in real estate, and it was mostly new builds.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I could see that.
I don't know how he did it, but he shares it on that episode. But
Yeah.
Pretty insane.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
But so there was just a ton of opportunity going on, and it realized that, okay, I need to get out of this. The thing, though, is that I got licensed in 2003. There was probably a 5-year stint where I was kind of just messing around a little bit. I had invested in real estate, and so I was making money in real estate, but I really wasn't a dedicated realtor. And so finally, my luck ran out, and I got fired from the Wynn, actually, hotel. I was working at SW Steakhouse, which is like a really premier restaurant. Long story short, I didn't like my boss. I tried to get him in trouble. He got me in trouble, and then I was invited to no longer work at the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. But that was okay. I know I'm done, and I realized that I'm not going to go back. And I went to a Mike Ferry organization retreat, and I showed up. I listened to this guy talk for 2 days, and I'm like, okay, I know what it takes now. Talk to people. This is about talking to people. The problem was it was November 2007, and I decided to go full-time January 2008. So you remember in the presidential transition from Bush to Obama, people were freaking out. Like, the economy's going to crash. This is bad. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go do real estate now. And my wife's like, no, this is not a good idea. All my friends are like, dude, bad idea. Like, this is a bad timing. But, you get to a point sometimes and you're broken and you're like, no more. And that's kind of where I was at. I'm like, no more. The Las Vegas life was super duper fast. All the vices you can think of, gambling, drugs, addictions, just everything, man. It's a fast life. And if you don't have your head on straight, it can turn you quick. And if you have your head on straight, even then, it can be very dangerous. And it was compromising a lot of my morals and my ethics, and I realized that I needed to move on. And so I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm going to go real estate full-time. January 2008, I hired a coach who I paid $1,000 a month for 30-minute conversations once a week. And I didn't have the money. I put it on a credit card. And my wife wasn't happy about that, right? But I looked at it like student debt. I'm like, okay, look, I see the path. I see the production. I see people doing it. Okay, all I have to do is 1 + 1 should equal 2. Okay, I got to know the game. How long is this going to take? I gambled a little bit because I maybe had 2 months worth of bills, and you start fresh. 2 months worth of bills. That's a huge gamble.
That's an uncomfortable spot.
That's not a comfortable spot to be in. Talking about being uncomfortable earlier, right? Like, so I had a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so the pressure was on accountability. Like, I come home every night, like, there's 2 little kids and they need to eat. So, like, pressure was on, right, to perform, and yet I was done. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. And I set up a bunker in my house, and luckily I had a little casita that was separate from the house, so I could be as loud as I needed to be. And I got out there and I prospected every morning, man, and I prospected 4, 5, 6 hours a day. Wow. Now remember, the economy's crashing right? En route to crash. 2008 January was like, okay, we're in big trouble. And so I knew that this is going to be bad. We weren't sure how bad it was going to be, but we knew it was going to be bad. So first year I did 14 transactions. Which was like doing 30 transactions because the economy, it was just so quickly going down. And it actually, 2008 and 2009 were like this, and then 9 and 10 were like that, just straight down, right? So first year, 14 transactions. Second year, 26 transactions. And then 52 transactions my third year. And then my fourth year, I did 129.
Amazing.
Yeah, I took 169 listings in basically like 9 months. Because what happened was I got 26 and then 52, and I did 52 transactions. I'm like, I think I'm gonna quit. And my wife's like, why? Because I'm not making money really. The average price point in Vegas had gotten down to low 100s, plus they were 90% of the business in Vegas was REOs, foreclosures, or short sales.
Wow.
And they were only paying 2% commissions.
Wow.
And they took 6 months to close.
Dang.
So I'm like, talking to these guys at these conventions who are like, man, you did 50 transactions. That's freaking awesome. You rock. Yeah, but dude, I got no money in the bank. Like, I mean, I'm paying bills, right? But not making much money at all. And I'm like,
that's a lot of work for not a lot in return. And so was your coach the one that said to get you into prospecting?
Yeah. Well, so the origins of the Cold Call King really are the fact that Mike Ferry was very cold call oriented in regards to coaching people to do that. He was still, hey, look, you got to talk to people. Yes, you need a database. Yes, you need to work your database. Yes, that's the best business. But Gary Keller talks about this on growing your business organically versus having organic growth versus disruptive growth. And organic growth, happens like this, and it's nice and steady, and you can have it, and you can do that. But I needed disruptive growth with 2 months of bills in the bank and 2 little kids. Yeah. Right. So that wasn't going to work for me. I had to make this happen faster. And the only way to do that was to create more conversations. Now, I'm not from Vegas, so I already am at a disadvantage where I don't have a database.
Yeah.
And then and the market, the economy's crashing, and so okay, double whammy now. And what am I going to do? Well, one of the things I love about real estate is it tests who you are as a human being. One of the guys on my team just recently told me that it was Kiyosaki said that the journey to wealth is a spiritual one, something along the lines of that, right? And I'm like, yeah, man, that's freaking true.
It makes
that's
sense.
Totally true. Who are you really when you show up? Are you desperate and salesy and pushy, or are you coming from contribution and are you seeking to understand and asking really good questions? And so I knew that I didn't want to be the sleazy salesperson, but I also knew that I was going to have to prospect my face off to survive. And so I did Mike Ferry coaching for those first several years, and that was, all right, go out there and hustle and create the conversation. And his foundational stuff for creating conversations and creating a duplicatable process to talk to people and create results is the best out there. It's just, it gets a lot of flack because people just associate cold calling with being salesy. And the matter of the fact is most people who try to cold call or prospect or intentionally create a result. You could be at an open house and be experiencing an agent who's salesy, right? That could that happens, right? Or an internet lead, right? Somebody's paying for internet leads and then they're just smashing them over the head, trying to get them to do things, right? And it's because of people don't understand the dynamics and actually the science, which is what I really work on and you experienced at Power Hour.
You've taught a lot about the science.
The science of the conversation, and at some point I'm going to do something with that. I'm getting the book copyrighted. I have a little playbook.
You literally wrote the book.
Literally wrote the book on breaking down all of these things that people train on how do I have better conversations. There's not a lot of breakdown of the strategy of okay, how is that happening? And what's happening there? Which is why people so much on the internet, live cold calls. I have videos that do live cold calls and they get hundreds of thousands of views.
Where can they find those?
Right. Real Sales Talk, a Real Sales Talk YouTube channel.
Okay.
And there's a lot of videos there, and those are the ones that are most watched because people are trying to understand what's happening here. How is that happening? But still, even then, and I do some videos on that where I break down other people cold calling, is okay, let's slow this down here and kind of look what's happening, because I think people are just intimidated at the fact that they're trying to talk to somebody who initially is not going to be comfortable talking to them, and yet it's my job to be able to get to know people and find out, and I train on this with my team quite a bit. Is our job is not to try to get people to do things. Our job is to find out who they are and to see if there's something that we can do to help them.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't want to make people do things. We just want to find out, is there people that we can help? And then through a series of intentional and strategic questions, help them get to the decision where it's, hey, you know what? Next best step is probably to just talk a little bit more about this.
Yeah.
So are you more on the quantity side or the quality of conversation side?
I mean, quality for sure. Okay. Quality for sure. I think at first though, with the guys on my team is everybody sucks at first. Talking to people.
So you got to put in those reps.
Yeah, I love this. People are like, "Oh, I'm better at talking to people in person." Yeah, it's called being human, right? I hope you're better at talking to people.
You get the benefit of reading people's faces and hearing the nuances and their body language and things like that. You should be better at that.
You should be better at that, and people don't know or understand what's actually happening in that. Yeah, you're getting facial and body cues, tonality, and you're be able to understand. There's a lot more communication going on versus you're blindfolded and all you can hear is that little voice, and then what's happening.
Yeah,
and what's happening in my mind, what's happening in their mind, and that's what we break down in Real Sales Talk is understanding the dynamics of creating good conversations, because I got it at KW when I first got to KW. Even people in leadership, they didn't really understand what I was doing. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, he's the cold call guy. Hey, cool. That's a little unique thing to be recognized as, because not many people are good at that and not a lot of people are afraid of that. But really, I'm the conversation guy.
You were really diving deep on the psychology of conversation too.
Psychology.
Yeah, because you always used to say, lead with contribution, and we always say lead with value, right? And then trying to ask the correct question to get to the correct result. And that was one really good thing that you guys talked about.
I mean, last episode was a pretty deep dive into like the mental health aspect of real estate and like the highs and lows. And one of the great things that came up from that was a lot of new agents fear rejection. That's why they don't try something.
Yeah.
And so if you can get over the fact, this is a failure business.
Yeah.
You have to fail things to get better at things.
Yeah.
And be good at them again, you know. So, in like you said, when you first cold call, I remember cold calling I worked at AT&T for a long time, and every Tuesday it was 2 hours long. Had to go to one central location. We would all just hit the numbers and cold call businesses looking for stuff. And there were people who were great at it, and there were people who like didn't want to do it because they were uncomfortable with like the possibility of not getting a yes. And it's like you have to get over not getting a yes, because not everyone is going to be an immediate success story. It's a numbers game. The more people you call, the more conversations you have, the better you're going to get at it, and the better you're going to get at uncovering those opportunities.
Yeah, that's the technicality of it. You know, the thing is that no one's there to really help them understand, like, who are they? Like, who are you? Like, what is your identity, right? In James Clear book, Atomic Habits.
Great
right,
book.
right. He really the premise of that book is like, who are you? Who do you think you are? Because when you have clarity with your identity, then the game changes, right?
It doesn't matter if they reject you.
Yeah, and as believers, right? Like, yeah, I know I can speak to you like this, right? Like, is that as believers, like when you have solidarity and confidence in your identity, dude, game over. Game over. I don't really care what you say. I know who I am. Ooh. And it's not an arrogance in your identity, right? Like, well, I don't care. Like, I don't care about you, you know, because I had to clear that up, because I had that New Yorker in me where I'm like, screw you, right? I'm not gonna swear in this podcast because I promised myself I'd swear less. I swear like a truck driver.
No, yeah, but your confidence in your identity, for sure. Attaching your confidence within your identity,
right? Yeah, it's just because what happens with people that are having that natural fear is that no one really gave them clarity on their identity, and either in life, most of us, a lot of us, we don't get a lot of direction on that, and then we will go into the professional world, and like we're just wandering around, like wondering and looking for what people are telling us our identity is. So and they walk in, they experience, well, that's salesy, and you know that feels salesy, and I felt salesy in that situation. Versus, hold up, if you come from contribution and you come from wanting to serve and to understand and you know that, especially in our industry, what we do is a necessity. It's like it's one of the top 3 or 4, right? Food, shelter, water, like shelter. Okay.
Yeah.
Need shelter. Like we're up there, right? They're not selling vacuum cleaners, right? Like this is a big deal.
Yeah.
So if I can have an integrity in that and know that, look, I'm not trying to make people do things. We have this this mantra in our office all the time. It's like, get to know the people, get to know the people. What's our job? Get to know the people. What's our job? Get to know the people. Because it's not about the result. It's about who you are and getting to understand them. And then that salesy stuff just goes away, and it's really good questions to understand. And when you get that kickback of like anger or frustration or whatever's happening on their side based off of in the moment, their kids yelling or in their mind.
This is like the 8th realtor that's called, like,
yeah. Or mom taught me that salespeople are slimy, whatever it is, right? That's the resistance. Then you identify that and you know who you are in that moment, and then it's just, okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. Let me ask another question, or let me kind of switch gears here to help this feel more comfortable, because all I'm trying to do is understand you. And if I can understand you and it can be a good conversation, then the rest will just take care of itself. You don't have to worry about a tricky close.
Yeah. John had a quote, and you'll have to correct it for me, but it was something about not being attached to the result, but to your intention of what you're doing. And so same thing, we talk about authenticity a lot. I think people, especially over the phone, can tell what you're calling to accomplish. And if you give off the wrong vibe that I'm calling to try to close you on a sale, I'm probably going to treat you like 99% of other salespeople who call me. I'm going to shut you out, not listen to anything you have to say, or I'm going to hang up on you.
Right.
And when you can break down those barriers, that's where the opportunity is.
Yeah. Well, what happens is that people don't have the identity, right? And so they're trying to fit, and so they sound salesy, right? And I may have said this in Power Hour before because I did Power. So Power Hour was like a training I did every morning, 8 a.m., Monday through Friday for like 4 years. Like that really, I'll tell you, that really solidified my skill set going back into productivity that I'll tell you about in a little bit.
bet, yeah.
Oh yeah, when I came in, I was just mowing people down.
Well,
like,
you probably don't realize how many agents you've actually massively positively impacted through
Yeah.
those power hours. I know it was definitely a grind for you because you're waking up, you're doing.
I wanted to though. I wanted
oh,
to.
really? You
I
did?
wanted to.
Okay.
That empowers me, man. Like I love watching, helping people understand this. It's like being a Jedi, right? Remember, like these are not the droids you're looking for, right? Like it's kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like a little bit is like, chill out. We're just talking. And okay, all right, I'll chill out. We're just talking. And because to rewind on the identity is that if people don't know who they are, then they're just acting really salesy. But one of the things that we used to say in Power Hour was people hear less what you say and more how you feel. How do you feel about that conversation? Because if you feel like, oh, here we go again, like I hope they don't yell at me, like I don't want them to think I'm salesy. For God's sake, man, like that energy is real. Energy is contagious, right? I've said that a million times in Power Hour, is that they vibe on that. You said it, right?
Yeah.
Like they vibe it. Energy's real, man, versus like a compassionate person who wants to understand and knows that I'm a salesperson, I'm a stranger, and so it's okay when they get there because I know who they think I am, and I'm still going to have a good conversation because I know who I am. And then those conversations are different, right? Like people, when I first started, and lots of people get this, is like people yelling at them and people being mean. Dude, that rarely happens to me on the phone anymore. Because as soon as I set the tone initially where I'm confident, I'm comfortable, I come from contribution, and then the conversation's just better.
Yeah.
You believe in what you're doing, and that comes across in your conversation with this stranger.
Yeah.
Versus when you call and you're not confident in what your mission for this call is, you almost default to the only thing you know, which is, well, my whole point is I'm trying to get a sale here.
Right.
So what do you naturally put out? Salesy vibes.
Right.
It's the natural course of action.
Exactly.
So as you're talking, I'm thinking it's just reminding me of those times that all of those classes that I used to go to of yours, and it just fills me with this immense amount of gratitude because a lot of the stuff that we talk about, you like are the source of where we learned it.
Oh wow.
It's crazy because and so then it brought me back to memories of me purchasing one of my houses and using all of the strategies to help other people purchase their house, and now I was able to purchase my house because I used the strategies that you taught me.
That's awesome, man.
So very thankful
Cool.
because like everything you're saying, I'm like, wow, like all of this stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it I learned from you, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's fantastic.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Question
dude.
for you,
That's
Pauly.
great.
Do you have like a pre-call ritual that you do? Like, do you have something that psychs you up for a
Yeah,
call?
it's so funny you mentioned that right now because I sent something to the guys yesterday. I sent them a Insta. I forwarded them something because it was I don't follow football. I don't follow sports anymore. I used to be really big into sports. The guy from LA Rams, the defensive guy, Donaldson.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron
Yeah.
Donald, yeah. I don't know sports anymore, but I saw him and he was a big beefy guy, right? And he's like going back and forth, and he's like he's doing affirmations, right? He's like, this is what you're here for. This is your big time. He's like, this is, and he's saying all positive stuff, right? And he's going, and then people are coming up to him and they're like, all right, good game, to prepare for the game, right? Like, all right, hey, here we go, guys. But he don't stop, right? He's just like, all right, I'm a big timer. This is what you're here for. This is what you're here for. And he's just pumping himself up, right? And I forwarded that to the guys because we talk about a pre-prospecting routine, which, anybody who does anything well has something a way for them to prepare, right? A pilot has his checklist, right? A doctor has their checklist before they go in, right? Any sports ones are easy, right? They warm up for the game and they do shots and they do fundamental drills because I need to put. So Tony Robbins says this, and I'm sure he's like we all steal stuff from other people. Is he goes when your psychology matches your physiology, you're unstoppable. right? When you feel how you think and you think how you feel, dude, identity, right? Solidarity with identity, game over. You're powerful. And people feel that power, right? I've had it a million times, not to toot my horn, but like people are like, man, your energy around it, like your conviction, like you're the guy, huh? Like, yeah, I'm the guy. So do it.
I love that the affirmations like
So sign here.
Right.
what's cool is like Aaron Donald like getting that's why he's like a dominant force is like he believes that he's
Believes
that
it.
guy.
Believes it.
And he is.
And there's bigger guys, stronger guys, faster guys, more natural guys, but it's the guys that get solidarity with their physiology, how they feel, and their body and their mind together. And when they fuse that, then you're like a superhero, man. So yes, there is stuff that I have prospecting affirmations that we chant. So we role play in the morning, and then the guys chant the affirmations, and we're beating our chests a little bit. And we don't do that every morning, but we do it. And then I have my life affirmations for me, you know, as a human being, and who I am as a father, and who I am as a believer, and those are important because I just actually started reading my. I don't think I did this with you, but I used to have masterminds back at the old brokerage, and in those masterminds we had this exercise called Why? Who am I? And who am I is you answering these three questions: Who am I? What do I want? And what am I willing to do? And I ran masterminds on those because those sound like really simple questions, but when you really spend time, like, who am I really? Dad, professional, husband, son, and what do I really want beyond the nice house and the financial stuff? Like, what do I really want to experience in my life? And what am I willing to do to get there, right? A coach gave me this exercise, and then I passed it on and used it in masterminds at the brokerage. And I wrote those out, and I have those at home, and next to my affirmations, I read those, and it takes me 3 minutes and 32 seconds to read through it. But I'll tell you, man, like that re-energizes me on the drama, the transactions, the blah, blah, blah. That's whatever the distraction is that takes me off of my identity of who I am and who I believe I was created to be. Because when I read that, just for a moment, man, like I read it, I'm standing up, I'm reading it out loud, and I'm looking at the paper, and you physiologically feel the cells in your body energize, right? Just like you do when you take deep breaths, right? Robbins does this too, right? Take 3 deep breaths or 5 deep breaths. You feel the oxygenation or whatever that word is, right? In your body. And when your physiology is charged and your psychology is charged, dude.
You'll be a force. I love that.
So this is a question we ask a lot of the top producers on our podcast. So what percentage would you say out of your day is prospecting as compared to actually working on the transaction?
Yeah, so we prospect 3 to 4 hours a day.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. So 3 hours of it's either 3 hours of fresh prospecting and then an hour of follow-ups, or 4 hours of fresh prospecting and then some follow-up. But pretty regularly, that's what we do. Nice. Monday through Thursday. Friday is like a free day where I don't force them to prospect. Hey man, you don't got the business, you got to prospect.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yep.
Like, and actually at the last brokerage that we were at, there were people that I coached out of making phone calls because it didn't fit their personality. I had a lady once, she was prospecting FSBOs, and she was like ready to have a mental breakdown. I'm like, look, stop doing that. There's only one common denominator in us being successful in real estate. How many people are you really talking to? Your sphere, networking, internet lead, whatever, right? Whatever the lead source is. But at the bottom line, like, how many people are you really talking to? And then how good are those conversations? So I coached her out of that. We talked about open houses and networking and working her sphere. And dude, she's does very, very, very well for herself now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out, so I was looking at my business, and I don't do cold calling, but the last 3-4 days, I'm looking at my day, and I'm like, wow, I do talk to a lot of people. 8 a.m. Dad's Tacos. We got 15 people there, right? And then I've got
How often do you do that?
Every week.
Every week.
Yeah, every Thursday. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we also have contractor meetup as well. There was 7 people there last night, and then also another meetup during the day. So I'm going to these meetups, and I'm realizing, wow, I've talked to 75, 100 people just today. And that's not even including my relationships, Facebook, my dad's group, my my Instagram, all those people that I'm talking to. And so really it just, like you said, it comes down to how many conversations are you really having?
It gets easy, especially when you get some business, to kind of settle in and go, I'm good, right?
Let off the gas.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But you got to keep casting a bigger net, because your pipeline needs to be filled with, there's people in my pipeline who I know are buying mid next year, and that's fine. I still need to keep up with them. But you got to fill the pipeline with transactions, because here's the thing. I need money next month. I need money a year from now. I need money 5 years from now.
Right.
So you got to keep filling and the way you do that is just conversations. Yeah. It's very simple.
The challenge with that is that we're creatures of habit, and we're look, we're inherently lazy. Like, we'll take the path of least resistance. Yeah. Right. So we need some sort of accountability, right? Whether it's somebody that we're in partnership with, or and that's why coaching works so well for people that are open to it and willing to accept it, because it's not like, it's not even as, it has to be as much as like, okay, here's the numbers I said I was going to do, and here's my numbers. It doesn't really have to be that's good, but really you just showing up to the conversation and going, here's what happened last week. What's going on?
I met a billionaire once, and he said, dude, I'm inherently lazy.
Yeah.
He said he sets up his day so that he has to work.
Yeah.
Like, he sets
without accountability. Look at Michael Jordan. Dude, he's fat now, right? He ain't fat, right? But like he don't look like the guy who was on the court.
Yeah.
Right? These guys, they retired. They don't have any accountability. Game over. Like, they fall to their natural state. You see with athletes all the time. They gain a lot of weight, or a fair amount of weight. It's like, dude, you were freaking shredded before.
Yo, Revis Island, Darrell Revis in the NFL, he was at the induction of the Hall of Fame game. Yeah. And bro, I kid you not, I could hardly recognize him. And he's only been out of the league for a few years, and I was like, whoa. And he was like trending online for it. No hate to him, like, I'm happy he's living his best life, but but it was just to your point, like, you're sitting there going, the accountability is what's different.
We need it.
It's the daily grind is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And you again, you go back into this the non-action taking version of yourself.
Right.
And so I think scheduling is really important. I noticed that if I either involve another person or if it's on my calendar, it gets done.
Yeah.
Because I'll make excuses with myself. I'll sit there and wake up and go, you know what? I could film tomorrow instead. It's just me.
Yeah.
I'm not disappointing anybody. Yeah. But if I'm making an appointment with John to go do a walkthrough, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Because now I've got someone else involved, and my reputation with that person, or like the accountability aspect of it is different.
Yeah. So
I think you as a team leader, though, like, if you have people under your team, you could, I don't know if you're already doing this, but having your two team members saying, hey, you keep this person accountable, and y'all meet at a certain time. And so now it's not just one person.
So I do one-on-ones with them weekly.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we have team meetings. And so, I have a very rigid system. They have to input their numbers. I have software that's tracking everything. Like, you can't really escape. Like, there's no excuse why I didn't make my contacts this week. That person's not on the team. First of all, I can pretty easily vet people who that won't happen. But once they get there, then either they phase themselves out pretty quickly, or there's no way out. Like, you have to make contacts. And so I run a more rigid system than most teams, like, where we're accounting for everything all the time. Yeah. And here's the bottom line, man. These people don't have business, so you need to be talking to as many people as you possibly can.
Yep.
I will easily coach somebody on my team not to make calls. They all end up making calls because they see how efficient the system is that I created. But I would very easily coach somebody to door knock for 3 hours a day. That will work, by the way. Nobody does it because everybody has these stigmas in their head. Oh, it's too hot. Well, it's kind of weird. People come to the door. Oh, well, that's I feel weird. It will work, man. All prospecting works, by the way. All of it. Like, how well do you work it? What's your identity with it? Because there's all these stigmas people have worrying about, like, freaking junior high kids. People are going to think about me. Dude, they don't care about you. First of all.
They won't think about you tomorrow.
Right.
I think it's also the value-driven piece that you're doing. Just like with cold calling, you have a value add to this person by having various ways to go about finding solutions. And it's the same thing face-to-face. And I actually, I feel like, me personally, I'm more comfortable door knocking than I would be cold calling. And I think that's because, again, we talked about the face I get to see the nonverbal. I get to see all this. But when I did door knocking, I did it from a place of value. It was right after the freeze of 2021 maybe happened, and so I made a magnet with some contacts, some emergency contacts for HVAC, plumbing, roofing, anything and everything that people needed. And I went to my neighbors, and I also had my business card printed on the bottom, just as that was the tag for me. And I would go up and I'd introduce myself and ask them if they would like this free emergency contact thing. And it was great because people, it was a value add, and it wasn't me being like, hey, like, I'm a realtor. Do you want this?
Yeah.
You know? And so it's all about your approach.
Yeah, your intention.
Exactly.
Yeah. But the common denominator, just how many people do you really talk to? So the fact that you're not making cold calls is fine, but you're being super intentional and strategic about creating those conversations at a greater level. If you want to grow. If you don't want to grow, it's fine. There's people that, you know, they go along that organic growth and it works for them, or financially they're able to withstand that. That's fine. But coming back into business, having moved here, so did well with all of that with real estate. The market shifted, and then I was doing short sales at a really heavy level when I did the 129 transactions. So I had to shift out of that and then recreate a new model.
And you were still getting commissions off short sales, correct?
Yeah, yep. Huh. I did have an investor partner that worked with me. So we created like a company that was working on short sales and providing consultation for people on foreclosures and a government refinance program that there was. And so we were providing a lot of value for people to come to us and to talk about that. But then when the market shifted and then the short sale foreclosure faucet kind of turned down, we're like, okay, this isn't going to work anymore. We need to shift gears. And so I did that for a couple years, shifting gears and refining my identity and doing a fair amount of business. And then that's when I got recruited to come to Austin to be the team leader at the Northwest Market Center for Keller Williams. And it was a blessing because I got to work directly with a billionaire. You know, Gary owned a couple of the market centers, and so I was with him. Like, I was around all these small groups of mega producers. And I don't think you know this, but when I'd stepped down from KW, from the team leader position, he actually one-on-one coached me for a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's very cool.
Yeah, you get to hang out with a billionaire and him tell you what he thinks about what you're doing. That was fun. I
have any eye-opening things from that?
We were on the same page vision-wise. He's like, look, I wouldn't do a big fat team. I'd do a nice, lean Navy SEAL unit that is highly skilled. And here's how to set it up. And that's what I was thinking. Yeah. And that's what we're doing.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
I have a question that's a little bit of a sidebar, but when you were talking, it reminded me that you got to see that 2008, 2010 crash.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chatter out there right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of comparing the two markets and trying to find similarities. My question to you, as someone who went through that and worked through it and was boots on the ground, what's your take on what's going on now versus that time period? Because I saw on Keeping Matters Current,
Keeping Current Matters.
Okay. So I saw that on there that foreclosures or the amount of mortgages that are in potential for foreclosure are at a historic low, which I think is very counter to what a lot of people are thinking is happening.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it?
Yeah, my take is that this is nothing.
I love it.
08, 09 was a catastrophe.
Really?
I mean, I was in Vegas, so Vegas was one of the epicenters, Arizona, Florida, California, a lot of the Sunshine States, specifically because of tourism. They were more susceptible versus a lot of the other areas. I mean, Austin back at that time didn't experience much. It's so funny, too, because when the pandemic hit, I was still team leader, and people were like, Austin doesn't experience stuff like that. We're not really susceptible to that. I'm like, look, you better pay attention because you are susceptible, because Austin now is not what it was back in 7 and 8, 9. It was a different city.
That's so
true. It was
true.
A total different city. The dynamics were completely different. But when that happened back then, that was such a national emergency. Is really what it was. That's what was happening between Bush and Obama in the transition, is that they were trying to figure out how to not let the economy collapse. That's not what's happening right now. Now what's happening is they're trying to mitigate damage and then figure out what to do by manipulating interest rates, which, they move too fast with going up too fast, too far, too quickly Yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah,
But
doubling in a 12-month span, like,
dumb,
come on.
right? And who knows? There's a lot bigger brains than me, and to figure out why all that happened. But the side effects of what's happening right now is not nearly as bad. We had correction in 2022 in Austin, Texas, but other places were experiencing different things. Vegas, most parts of the West Coast and the East Coast have not experienced what we experienced here in the last 18 months, 24 months. So we needed that correction based off of we were just doing this like all the way up, right? That's not realistic. And so there needed to be some correction, and there was, 25 to 30% correction depending on the area in 2022. But 2021 or 2023. We follow these numbers very, very closely. January and February, we flatlined. We flatlined.
What I say a couple episodes ago, I said February was the bottom because we've had nothing but month-over-month growth in all the major categories since then.
April, May, over 7% across Williamson and Travis County, up 7%. And over those 2 months, right? That's freaking ridiculous, by the way. So from what we experienced just prior to that.
Yeah.
You were lucky to get 7% in an entire year.
Right, but when things were not crazy.
Right.
June we flatlined. March, April, May we flatlined. June we went up 2%, and then July numbers just came out. Travis County flatlined again, and Williamson County actually dipped down 5%, according to Austin Board of Realtor numbers, and that's what we track month over month. We track that. And so the correction, it sucks. But look, people, it sucked when we had to get clients to make $50,000, $100,000 over asking price. Yep. Okay, there was a 3 or 4% interest rate, but you had to pay to. I sold the property $325,000 over asking price. It wasn't even $1 million property. When it sold, it was $1 million property. But it wasn't $1 million property. 300, and then a month later, I sell one for $212,000 over asking price. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. People think they want that 3% interest rate to come back.
Right.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
I promise you don't.
No. 5 would be pretty cool. If we could just get back down to the 6s, that would be all right.
I think if we get to 5, it's going to pop a lot.
I think it'd be really healthy. It would be healthy.
Yeah.
Because people still have the equity. Sellers, a lot of things is sellers are sitting on property because where am I going to go?
Right.
Why am I going to give up a house at 3% interest rate to go get into an 8% interest rate house?
Remember, we're seeing that through the lens of Austin.
Yeah.
Other areas are not experiencing what we're experiencing. So they're like, no, we're good.
Yep.
We're fine. We're fine. It doesn't need to go any. We can hang at 7. We're good.
Yep.
There's still multiple offers happening. There's still over asking price bids happening.
Yeah, I just sold one $25K over asking price, and we had 6 offers on one. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, it was in Wimberley, and a lot of people like Wimberley. Apparently, I didn't know that. But
I didn't know Wimberley had 6 sales to have.
I know.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking. But,
I love Wimberley.
But $25K over asking price just last week, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think you just have to have conversations with people who are in it. I think there's this what you see either on the news or major media outlets is going to tell one side of a story.
Yeah.
And I think if that's where you're getting your sources from, you need to reconsider, because as people who deal with it every single day, you're going to find out a different, more boots on the ground perspective from realtors.
I say that I do a video market update, and I send it out to everybody in the CRM, and I say that every time because you have these talking heads in California, and I'm picking on California, right? But like anywhere but here, or maybe they're even here, but they're not really real estate professionals who are doing business every day.
Yep.
Like they don't really know. There's one guy, I can't remember him, out of Sacramento or Northern California, and I like him because he's a stats nerd, right? And he's got all this data. But I'm looking at him, and every month I'm like, yeah, you really don't got it though, bro. You really don't know what's going on here.
Yep.
You don't know. Like you're talking off of national data and off of chunked up data because Dallas and Houston are different than Austin.
They are.
It's not the same thing. And even with that data that they get, like you're not boots on ground, so you don't really know what's happening here. And that would be the biggest challenge for people is to they don't know what looks good or bad that could be good or bad. And so they just don't know. And so a lot of people get sucked into these fear-mongering people online that are just spitting fear because they know it gets more views and more clicks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the best thing you could really do is really interview an agent and like ask them, I was going to do something with this. I forgot what it was. I was going to do something in marketing about ask your realtor what their prospecting schedule is like. And if they have a confused look on their face, then they probably don't have a prospecting schedule because we should be in some way, maybe not prospecting, right? But marketing, like we should be doing something to try to sell our listings outside of just posting it on the multiple listing service, right?
Yeah.
So
many people got into the business when that's all you had to do.
Right.
And so they were like, oh, this is a piece of cake to
Right.
sell a property.
Yeah.
And
What
then-
did you used to say? Put a sign on the yard.
Put a sign in the yard,
and pray it sells or something.
yeah. That was KW thing. It was put a sign in the yard, put it on the MLS, and pray that it sells.
Yeah, something like
the
that.
3 Ps.
The 3 Ps. Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
Right.
So,
But
sorry, go ahead.
no, it's we were talking about being able to sell the property. Yeah, there's so many people that just don't have any idea on what to really do.
But
So-
are very loud with their opinions
Yeah,
of what's
yeah.
going on.
So that's what I recommend for people to do is like maybe you don't know the questions to ask, Google it, right? Like ask more questions to find out what does your realtor really know and what are they doing, because pretty quickly you're probably going to vet out how confident or comfortable or knowledgeable they are in something based off of the way that they respond.
Isn't it amazing when someone's like, oh yeah, my second cousin twice removed is a realtor.
Yeah.
And you're like, cool, like what have their sales been like in the
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, well they actually haven't sold anything in 6 months. And you're like,
Yeah.
who do you think is a better fit to sell your house
Yeah.
right now, me or them?
Yeah.
You know, like it's incredible, like the mental gymnastics behind like why people justify why they go with certain realtors.
Yeah.
Like don't be afraid to ask questions to the people that are going to be responsible for selling a huge asset of yours.
Yeah, and think about this as from the agent side is that that's why I love doing expired withdrawals is because I'm the emergency responder. That's what's going on in my head, right? And I've trained on this too. Is like, who are you, right? Who are you? I'm walking into a fire. This is a bad situation. Something that was expected to happen didn't happen, and now time or money or both have been compromised. There's unhappy people here. So what does an emergency responder do when they show up to a scene? Unhappy people here. Okay, what does the emergency responder do? Freak out and start getting emotionally sucked into all this madness? No, they breathe, they use their equipment, and they assess the situation, they ask questions, and they save lives. And that's how I look at it when I go in, because the people that ultimately sign with me on expired withdrawals, dude, they are happy, maybe the happiest clients I've ever had, because I've saved them from this financial duress that they were experiencing. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't want my business. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are going to go in another direction. That's fine. I'm playing the numbers. I understand that. I don't expect everybody to like me, but I'm going in and I'm helping people. And if I have the identity of, man, I really want to help people, and I know that based off of what I know, if I create better conversations and ask better questions, then whether it's cold calling or talking to somebody at an open house who says, oh, I'm working with a realtor, and you ask a few questions because you're supposed to do that, and you realize, they're kind of not really working with a realtor. They may have gotten, they're sending them an email from another open house that they visited 2 weeks ago. Then you may be the opportunity to get the dream house that person is looking for, or to not waste time and make multiple offers on properties that because their strategy is flawed or because of whatever, and you're the hero, because we know 50% of realtors last year, NAR, this many transactions. None.
Wow.
50%, right? The average realtor transaction count.
He said this, so not three.
Yeah,
Zero.
Zero. I don't know the number now. In the past, it was 4. I think it creeped up to 7 as far as the number of transactions the average realtor has done. So either you're talking to a realtor who's done nothing or very little in all likelihood, right?
Wow.
And so ask these questions and get to know them and figure out, like, who am I really talking to? Because you could be spending a lot of time and ultimately losing or out on money or losing out on an opportunity to like deal with the most significant investment of your life
I love that.
for most people.
100%.
So we're gonna start kind of winding down. We're running a little bit out of time, but I want to end with something that's really tactical. Is people who are listening to this and now they're fired up. They want to go cold call. What kind of programs are there out there available? Is there one that you'd recommend to get started, like an auto dialer, or like how do you find who you're gonna call? What does that look like?
Yeah. I'll tell you, as far as tools, like we use Mojo, which is a triple line dialer, and we use Follow Up Boss, which integrates with Mojo, which is the main reason we use it. But the best CRM is the one that you use. I mean, I don't really have preference because there's other auto dialers out there. I just like Mojo because it's a triple line dialer, and they've been very flexible with development and improving their tools that they use. They've been very, very progressive with that.
For those who don't know, what is a triple line dialer?
So it's a dialer basically that dials 3 lines at once and allows you to just get through the data faster. And
you're covering a lot more potential numbers in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah, and we don't use any robo dialing or like
AI.
No, we don't do anything like that, like fake conversations or anything. It's all voice to voice connections. It's just when you deal with some of that circle prospecting, you're dealing with so much data. You have to it'll just take you forever to get through it. People just don't pick up. The average pickup rate is, hanging around 15% on a good day.
I believe it.
So that's a lot of data where people just don't pick up. That's just a pick up.
Wow.
That's not even. Yeah, that's not even to like
conversation.
No. So, but look, great coach told me once is that look, the people who get paid the most money are the people who are able to master repetitious boredom.
Wow,
that's stuff that people don't want to do, man. They don't want to do it. Nobody wants to sit there but look, nobody wants to spend a boatload of money either on the marketing thing. So what are you gonna do? Like you're gonna have to spend a lot of money and then still talk to people and have a conversion rate like this, or you're gonna have to go out and create the conversations and understand that there's still a numbers analyzer to run on conversations to contracts.
Yeah,
I feel like if your business isn't booming right now, or if you're uncomfortable with where your production's at, what better way than to go out and just start conversations with people?
Prospect, man.
And it's whether it's the way John does it, which is events, networking, meeting up with people, or if it's cold calling, just talk to more people. It's the name of the game. It's how you're going to survive the highs and lows of real estate.
Yeah, you got to prospect, man. If you're not, who said this too is you wouldn't expect it, right? And it's funny as you network and you become you become friends with people in the business or like-minded people who are trying to grow, being intentional about growing their business. Lori Flood, she's like, you know what this business is all about? I'm like, what? Because I used to consult with her, right? And she's like, lead generation. I'm like, dang. Lori Flood is like you think she's like the open house queen or the neighborhood queen, and
we
and
almost
she's
bought
like
a house
lead
with her
generation.
before I became an agent. Before I became an
She's
agent, we
great,
almost
man.
worked with her. Yeah.
She's an amazing agent. She's
crazy.
awesome. But on the material or like direction to go, there's really not a ton out there. It may look like there is for prospecting, honestly. And I get no compensation out of this at all. I would seriously say my YouTube channel is the best out there, and it is completely organic. Like I have not been intentional at all about building it, and one day I will, because with KW it was about building the business there. Now I'm setting the foundation for what I'm doing, and I'm going to spend probably a good couple of years doing that, and then I'm going to probably in the next 18 to 24 to 36 months, I'll go back to the Real Sales Talk platform and like format it and sell it, because people are selling antiquated, packaged, canned sales training programs that are just ripped off from somebody else, and they're water ski programs, right? They're on the top. Real Sales Talk is a scuba dive on the psychology, like who are you? What's going on? What tools allow me to comfortably and naturally explore conversations? Because it can be cold calling or it could be networking or whatever. It doesn't matter. The form doesn't matter. What matters is how many people you're talking to and how good are your conversations. So quantity, quality, I'll take. And the goal is for the guys that are right now focused on quantity. But even this morning, I'm like, hey, you guys, the goal is quality. For you to get to where I'm at, where I only need to talk with 10, 12 people, I got stuff going. You got to talk to 50 people because you suck. So you.
Yeah.
The point is, don't suck.
So if you suck quantity,
and here's the thing: everybody sucks at the beginning.
That's true. Yeah.
Everybody. So Darren Hardy said this on the Hero's Journey program I did. He said, embrace the suck. You're gonna do something new. Anything you do new, you're gonna suck at it. Embrace it. Learn, you'll get better, and then things will work themselves out.
I love it.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Any last words? So, any great pieces of advice that you would tell newer agents? Although this entire episode was amazing.
This has been an entire episode of
pieces of
fantastic advice.
Yeah.
But if you had one thing to say, what would you say?
I'd say really it's about understanding who you are. You know, I think that theme today has run pretty deep on figuring out, and I know that's such a like esoteric, existential like thing to say, but like, and I think it's a journey that we're all on our whole lives, is understanding who we are. You know, who we are from our parents, who we are in our faith, who we are in our professions and our relationships, and I think that with our business, if we get clarity and we reinforce our identity and who we want to be, maybe we're not there yet, but with affirmations, right? It's not a lie to me because I'm working towards it every day and I'm trying to be in that every day. Is that you're using affirmations or something that you watch or something that you read or listen to reinforce who you want to be? Because once you get there, then all these other things start falling into alignment with who you are. Like, okay, well, I'm a little bit more comfortable. My mindset is strong all day long. I'm a powerful communicator. I create conversations of value, right? Like all these affirmations that we used to say in Power Hour to like get it into your guys' heads. Like, dude,
condition yourself to
it's
think that way.
okay. Like what you're doing right now is okay. It's okay to talk to people and get to know them without an agenda to just see if there's an opportunity to help them. It's okay. So do something. Do something more. Be intentional. Have some accountability to grow into who you are and who you want to be, and the rest will kind of take care of itself.
This is such a fantastic episode. This is such a value-packed episode. I hope the listeners have taken this to heart. I mean, I'm freaking fired up right now.
Let's go prospect right now. We're going to prospect.
The prospecting king himself, Pauly Campanaro. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, so Austin, Texas, Home Solutions is my website. But for all the realtors, for sure, the Real Sales Talk YouTube channel is where all the content, all my content is packaged up in the playlists. I also offer the playbook, which is the mindset strategies and skills and scripts that got me to 129 transactions in my 4th year. And they can email me therealsalestalk@gmail.com, therealsalestalk@gmail.com, and that's free. I don't ask for anything for that.
A lot of our listeners are on Instagram. Do you have Instagram?
Yeah, Coach Pauly C.
Okay,
awesome.
Yep, Coach Pauly C on Instagram, and that's where all the good content is on getting in alignment with like who you are as a communicator. I won't even say prospector, right? Because there's a stigma even around that, right?
Yeah.
Like we're communicators. God created us to communicate with each other, to talk to each other.
I love it. John, where can people find you, buddy?
At John Michael Perez on Instagram and pretty much everywhere else.
Before we sign off, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the people that have been having really great conversations recently. Nick in Nevada, Jameson in Nashville, Fernando in Houston, Josh in Alabama, and Ethan in Austin. Thank you guys so much for reaching out, for telling us about the value that you're receiving from this. There's many more of you, but quick shout out to you gentlemen. At Jordan Sells ATX on all major social media. Fantastic episode. Pauly, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Guys, go be great in your local market. We'll catch you in the next one.
Awesome.